everyone, welcome back. It is the Dani podcast. Today's episode, I'm trying really hard not to label as the universe always delivers. But do I have something I have to share with you? Oh my gosh, stay tuned guys. Big things are coming in 2025. I think looking back at the past 9 months, I can't help but feel in awe of how everything has just unfolded. The highs, the lows, the unexpected twists somehow all led to this, which somehow happened last Thursday. In today's episode, I'm reflecting on the moments that have shaped me recently, the lessons that have totally hit hard, and the way the universe has delivered in ways I never saw coming. Don't you think 2025 is already starting to feel exciting again? There's like a little bit of a buzz in the air, and I'm here for it. So let's talk about trusting the process, embracing the change, and recognizing that magic in what is unfolding. So, what happened? You know when things are just like deeply spontaneous and you have absolutely no control over it and it's just so amazing? Something happened last Thursday where I woke up Friday morning and I genuinely thought I dreamt it. The hangover was hangovering, so I definitely knew I didn't dream it. But I just had this little like glowy spark, like a buzz, and I was thinking, did that just happen? And I am like ecstatic to share this with you guys because obviously if what had happened in the past 9 months hadn't happened, I would be none the wiser. I would be none the wiser with the fact that I actually genuinely want to be loved. And I think as someone that's so strongly independent as myself, it's easy just to go through life as though you don't need another person. You don't need a companion. I've literally done my whole 20s and 30s single. So because of this recent thing that happened 9 months ago, and I actually kind of fell into this excitement about affection and everything else, I was just genuinely thinking, how do I put myself back together after this? Like, how do I not forget what had happened? But I just seemed like I was just never going to get there. And honestly, what happened last week is just an absolute show of like the universe is working in my favor, but more or less you can come from the bottom of the bucket to the top and just excel into, I don't know, a butterfly? I don't know. Let me take you back. So last Thursday, I had an invitation to attend a friend of a friend's farewell. She was leaving to go to the North Island and it was kind of spontaneous. I wasn't really planning on much. However, that week I got a package from an online sale I purchased, and I had this black and red cherry dress that fell to the floor. And if you know me, I'm 6'3". I barely wear anything that covers my ankles. So this was kind of weird. So I knocked off work and I got myself ready, barely put an inch of any sort of effort in. I'm telling, like, the dress was dressing, but everything else, I actually didn't have a shower after work. I went straight into this dress, thinking nothing of it, chuck on some red lipstick. I even told a couple of friends, hey, look, can't come around for drinks today. I'm going to a farewell party. I'm going to put my lipstick on, chuck my hair in a bun, and walk out the door. And I did exactly that. So went toddling down to a farewell party, which was just so much fun. There's something about like not knowing who's going to be at a venue or a house and you just enjoy the company. So sure enough, a couple of friends were there and it was so good. We've had a couple of drinks by now, and so we decide to walk down the street, probably a couple of streets over to another friend's house. And all of a sudden I'm just thinking, okay, well, this is just going to start getting a little bit more exciting. We've had a couple of drinks and seeing more people, whatever. So we go to this next house and then we realise as the night's progressing that my wonderful neighbour has herself in a cast at the moment. She has injured herself and we didn't know how to get back to the house. So what's really common down here in Central Otago is we have a lot of greenway type areas where you can walk between streets and it's like grassy areas, but unbeknown to us, there are a few potholes, a couple of ditches, as they say, and she sustained an injury from a couple of weeks prior. So our only solution was to catch the courtesy coach to a pub to have one drink and then catch the coach home, and then that way we would get safely home. If you're not from around here, Cromwell does not have Ubers. They have a taxi company, but I don't understand the name of the taxi company, therefore I'm not using it because it sounds like something that doesn't exist. No worries to them. They're probably great, but it makes me feel weird calling that company. Anyway, so we catch the courtesy coach and I'm none the wiser. By this stage, I've had a couple of drinks. I'm just feeling a little bit floaty, a little bit, fun. Turns out I get to the pub and I was a little bit affectionate. I was running around and I was just giving everyone hugs, just the locals, the older generation as they call themselves. And so I'm sitting at the locals table and a couple of my friends go outside to vape, leaving me alone. So I don't smoke, I don't vape. That's just, I never have. I'm not cool enough to do those things. So I'm sitting there by myself and there's a bloke at the table. And he scoots down and he says to me, "Do you remember me?" And I said, "No." And I looked at him and I thought, where would I know you from? And he says, "About 6 months ago, you walked into a house party holding a bloke's hand." And I thought, oh no, what's this gorgeous girl doing with a guy like him or something like that? Just because I know that he is an absolute fuckboy and he's going to break her heart. And I was none the wiser 6 months ago. So I was in this house party, sitting on the couch watching YouTube with a couple of people that were in this house, absolutely none the wiser to what was happening outside, where these two blokes were having a scuffle. This guy that was sitting opposite me at the pub that night, last Thursday, he actually left the property because he didn't want to see anything else unfold in regards to, what was I doing with this guy. And it's kind of crazy to look back on and think, if he had come back into the house 6 months ago and told me or made a bit of a song and dance about the fact that the bloke I was with was potentially going to break my heart or have an opinion or as such, whatever, maybe I might have listened. I don't know. So anyway, this guy leaves the property and we go on about our lives. Nothing untoward. I don't even really remember him. However, I do have photos on my phone of that night and he is in one of the photos. So he says to me, "It's funny that you're here right now because I don't normally drink on a Thursday at the pub and Dani Dot, I haven't been down to karaoke for months, if not years. So this to me was quite unusual." And I was thinking, wow, this is really like the universe testing me right now. Anyway, he says, "About 6 weeks ago, I told my brother, I just wonder whatever happened to that girl from that house party because she was bloody gorgeous and she was with this guy that everyone knows has a terrible history." So I didn't know this. I was really unaware. And I don't know, maybe it just got a little bit too much for me and I started having a little bit of a teary because it seemed like the sweetest thing you could probably ever say to me. Like, here's a guy who's actually fighting for me 6 months prior and now we bang into each other in the pub and we both don't go to the pub that often. So anyway, he says to me, "Do you mind taking this back to my house so we can continue this conversation over a bottle of wine?" Wow, you guys, I panicked. And in like a soft kind of like, holy shit kind of way. And I reached over to my friend who'd just come back from the smokers area and I said, "You never guess what's happening in this conversation I'm having with this bloke." And I said, "Do you mind coming to the toilet with me for a second? I just need to catch my breath." Like, I'm actually like shocked. And a friend of mine came with me and another friend stayed at the table and continued talking to this guy. And I said to her whilst I was in the toilet, I wasn't on the toilet, I was just sitting in the toilet. And I just said, this is like crazy, too good to be true. Like, never happens to me. What the hell? And she says, "Oh, he's a good looking bloke, Dani. Why don't you take him up on the offer?" And I says, "Because I've had a lot to drink and I didn't think that 2 house parties was going to lead to the pub and that we'd have to potentially, have something else on top of all of this happen." So I come back out and I talk to my other friend who's been talking to him and she says, "Dani, he's sincere. He's genuinely a nice guy. I think you should go back to his house and continue your little party. Just drop us a location pin, and chuck us a couple of snaps just to show that you're okay. We don't have to send like the police or you're not going to end up in a horror movie. You're fine. You're just down the road." And I was like, oh my God. So every single time I catch the courtesy coach, I sit in the front seat. It's just a habit, and I think it's from my days in insurance that if you're going to be involved in a car crash or whatever, just have eyes on all the time. And this night, I happened to sit in the back with him, and the driver made comment. He said, Dani, this is weird. You're normally sitting up here with me. And I said, I know. I'm throwing caution into the wind tonight, and I'm going to sit in the back with him. And we started making out. I felt bad for it because I was like, oh, God, am I that bad at this? Anyway, we get to his house, and I run up the stairs after him, and his brother's sitting in the living room. And he says to his brother, you know that chick I was talking to you about 6 weeks ago? I wonder whatever happened to her? Yeah, this is her. And he turns around and he says, wow, you weren't lying. She's bloody gorgeous. And I have said this over and over again. I feel like sometimes my brain goes into that movie Shallow Hal, where there's that bigger woman, but she doesn't see herself as skinny or just whatever. When guys start saying, they think you're gorgeous or they love your, laughter, your humor, your kind nature, whatever, it kind of throws me because it doesn't happen that often. And when it happens, I just think, I know that I am like, a really fun person in character. Like I'm better on person than I am on paper. Let's get that out of the way. But when it comes to like general looks and stuff, like I'm telling you now, I think the cherry dress solved this whole situation. I just have a feeling. And so we were sitting on his balcony listening to Chris Stapleton, an album, just drinking red wine, which subsequently was not my finer moment because I think I'd probably had like over the space of several hours, a lot of wine. I'm not going to lie. So anyway, his brother toddles off to bed. And probably like 20 minutes later, he comes back and he says, I can't find the TV remote for my TV in my bedroom. Do you mind if I keep watching TV in the living room? And I was like, yeah, that's totally fine. We're sitting on the balcony listening to music. It's all good. And I don't know, this bloke just said, do you want to come into my room and just chill? And I was like, oh my God. Like, I don't know why I thought alarm bells, but I was just thinking, oh yeah, this just doesn't happen. If anyone knows me, one night stands are not my forte, but also I'm a slow burn. Like I will literally take 6 months to a year to get to know someone before anything happens. My last like one night stand was early 20s, and I ended up loving this guy for like 6 years who subsequently ended up leaving the country because he got deported, whatever. It's terrible. So anyway, go back to this guy's room, and I don't know, I was like Snapchatting my cousin, and I was sending photos to friends. This is how far it went, you guys, and I still am like cringing. I put my podcast on his TV, and I was like, I actually have a podcast, this is it. And he's like, right, I'll listen to that tomorrow when I'm at work. So, oh my God, I can't even believe I'm saying this right now. I think he's going to be listening to this episode. Oh my God, I'm sweating. Anyway, we sort of like, oh God, yes, we hooked up. It was like sparks. Crazy. And I just remember thinking, shit, I've got a kitten. I've got to get home. So it was a really good excuse to like end it and just be like, okay, going home. So anyway, we go to the kitchen and I'm like, so, okay, this is too good to be true. It's like a dream. And we switched numbers, but I did not get his name. He called my phone and his number came up and I saved it. I didn't even save it. I just left it as that, but he had my number. So obviously Friday morning rolls around and he's messaged. I still don't know his name. But anyway, leaving his house that night, he walked me back to my house, which is such a gentleman thing to do. And honestly, it's very common. I don't know what it is about this wee township, but the blokes here, they will always like make sure the females get home. It's like they will put themselves out like a couple of kilometers just to make sure that whoever they're with or on a date with or whatever, they're making sure that you get home. And that's just like so special. I don't know. This is probably why I keep going back to this type of shit because it's romantic. Don't get me wrong. So I'm audio noting my bestie from like my bed at like 2:33 in the morning, just like, oh my God, this is what's happened. It's crazy. This guy's like walked home. It's fine. My Garmin watch says he's 2,100 kilometers, 100 steps from my house. That's where I walked from. It's like fun. Wake up Friday morning, got a whole bunch of texts from him, cool beans. I go about my day, go to work. I logged into a 9 a.m. meeting and my boss was like, whoa, what happened to you? I just looked like the crypt keeper. Like, it was funny because my mum was up in Auckland and she was like at the gym at the Star City Casino. And it was like beautiful facility, so she was using it. She's like, Dani, I've done like 2K on a bike and a 4K walk on the treadmill. And I said, Mum, I've been asleep for 2.5 hours and I think I met my husband last night. She rang me straight away, you guys. And she was like, are you joking? What happened? And I told her and she was like, wow. I mean, like, you know, when you just think like you can't get over something that happened and you just like, I was really struggling. And now that this has happened, and it's kind of like it's made me turn this corner. Like the clarity is just like I have got so much direction right now and so much planned in my brain of like stuff that involves myself. It's almost like I feel confident again. And it's nothing to do with this bloke. It kind of made me feel special that he was fighting for me 6 months ago. And then we managed to see each other in a really random situation where I actually, like I was telling a friend yesterday, I truly believe, even though we met and I didn't have my sparkle, which if you know me, you know that like I go out and I put like a lot of effort in because I work from home and I can obviously look like a bin all the time. It's just how I fly. So for me to actually put a dress on and only focus on my lipstick and my hair's in a messy bun, there's barely any makeup, and just flutter off to this house, like that's crazy. And a lot of people say that when you're at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom, someone will enter your life that would just be like, well, where the fuck were you, you know? And it's crazy. I've only told half a dozen people about this, and I actually wasn't going to go to the pub on Friday, but I knew that some people would be there that would be interested in hearing the story. So I got myself a little bit organised, and I was only going out for an hour and a half, 2 hours. There was a big event happening in Cromwell that past weekend, and there was just different people around. So obviously it was interesting. I really always enjoy those kinds of weekends because normally it's quite stale and the same go there. So to go to the pub on the Friday, and I walked in, I was talking to my older table of locals, and they just love hearing about what I've been up to, and it's like they don't listen to podcasts and stuff like that, so they have no idea. So me sitting down with them all, and I said, right, I've got a story for you, and it happened last night. It's barely 24 hours old, and I'm going to tell you about it. Their mouths were on the floor, and it's really sweet because my pub dad, who he's looked after me for like years, he's just the most caring person. I told him and his wife hugged me, and she was like, yes, Dani, get excited. I want you to like tell people about this. And you know what's different about the situation is that I'm confidently just talking about it like, this is amazing. And I want to share this with you, which is so exciting to me because the past situationship with the salmon, I didn't talk about a single piece of. I mean, there was drips and drabs I told my friends, but I didn't really talk about it on the podcast. So let this be a lesson to you guys that if something just actually is exciting, share it. You can get so much like information and happiness back from sharing this type of shit. It's crazy. Anyway, back to his name. So this is where it gets really funny because this whole table of older locals were like, show us a photo, Dani. What's his name? You know, I actually said to the bartender who was working that Thursday night, do you know what the guy's name was last night with the, I'm not going to say it because people will be like, oh, I know who you're talking about. Anyway, and he was like, no, but I can find out. And so this bartender went around the bar, and probably within 45 minutes he came back to me and he's like, right, this is his name. Look him up on Facebook. Sure enough, I did. We had mutual friends. It was like a whole thing. Anyway, there was a lady at the table who had been married for 26 years, and she said when she first met her husband, she did not know his name for 2 weeks until he introduced her to his mum. And his mum pulled out the photo albums and said, that's my son, and pointed to his name on the photo. And she was like, right, that's his name. And she looked at me and she went, 100% Dani. If you play this right and you don't self-sabotage and you just enjoy yourself, this could be something, because weird shit happens like this, and it's a fun thing to go through. And I was just like, I was beaming, like, what? We had the best chat. It was the best catch-up conversation on the Thursday when I met this bloke. Everything was just normal. There was no struggle. And I don't really have butterflies, and there's no, like, fear involved or anything like that, it's a comfortable situation. Like, I genuinely feel like this bloke would never hurt me. He actually went into bat for me 6 months ago, and then talked about me 6 weeks ago, and now we're actually like texting hourly. And I don't want him on my social media. I don't want to have like him on mine. Like, that's not how this is going to work. I actually just genuinely want old school attention, and just like, I want to see where this goes really organically. Like, no one's going to interfere. No one gives a shit. This is up to me. I'm having fun. Leave me alone. He did want to catch up over the weekend, but he has a second job, he's helping a friend out. So we only got to sort of briefly catch up on the Sunday, which was okay. And we had a public holiday here yesterday. So honestly, though, I think I really thrive on 3-day weekends. I hated the fact that it was Monday, because I had a whole bunch of online deliveries that just didn't get delivered, and I was getting shitty because I wanted to play with all my new toys. But no, this has just really reignited the spark in Dani, and I can't even tell you. Unfortunately, I am not really I'm playing it cautious, in the sense that I don't want to have what happened before hurt me again. I feel like I'm not just throwing out everything to be vulnerable and whatever. Like, I've got a little bit of a wall up, but it's not like it was before. And I think it was Friday day, he messaged and he said, do you want to still continue to get to know me? And I really admire the fact that he managed to say that. And I simply said to him, look, I know that I was a bit of a mess when you were telling me what you were saying, and I burst into tears and everything else, but I am 100% over the situationship. I'm all good. It's just, I feel like the time between letting that go and meeting this guy, I don't know why I thought that I was going to have more time to just kind of grieve's a bad word, but get myself back into confident Dani mode. But honestly, it's one of those things where it's interesting, because his texting to me is like, have a good day, beautiful. What are you up to, gorgeous? How's your day going? Beautiful. Like, my co-workers actually said to me, he should be saved in your phone as beautiful, just because that's how he addresses you. And I was like, oh my God. I caught up with some friends yesterday and told them all this, and they were just like, wow. So it's really nice knowing, I know a bit more about him because they know him as well. And they said, oh, we can't really give judgment on it, Dani, just because you'll probably get to know him a little bit differently than we do, just as friends and acquaintances. But I'm taking this so slow, but not. I'm just having fun. And I actually think that this could be something. I'm just taking myself back a little bit and going, wow, exciting times ahead, eh? I'm still obviously doing things for myself. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of drive and direction that's just been reignited, but it makes you feel a little bit special. I can do this. Yeah. And I don't know. I just wanted to share it today. Anyway, to all my new listeners, and I was just actually looking at this the other day. So the episode that I was talking about briefly recently, when your age is getting serious but your life isn't, has just hit 125,000 downloads, and that is insane. It's still trending. Literally every day I click into my portal thingy where I look at my podcast data, and I'm like, what? Why is this happening? I can't even deal. Anyway, I was looking at the statistics, and in the locations, that's what I was looking up. This is insane. I always think that we're quite local here in New Zealand. I genuinely just feel like a lot of people are New Zealand based. And don't get me wrong, top 3 cities are Brisbane, Christchurch and Auckland. However, New Zealand takes up 52% of my listeners, which is crazy. Then the United States, the United Kingdom, Germany, Canada, Mexico, France, Netherlands, Austria. We have got new listeners from Sydney, Invercargill, Virginia, Washington, Hampshire, the Waikato, Gore. Oh, who's in Gore? Who's that? Bavaria? Isn't that like near where they do Oktoberfest? Couple in Perth, Gillingham, Kent, Nottinghamshire, Dublin, Barnsley. Yeah, some of these places I can't even say. But do you know what's really interesting that I just saw the other day? 4 people in Poland, Slovakia, Finland, Japan, Honduras, Bangladesh, Ukraine, Luxembourg, Costa Rica. Hey, whoever's listening to me from Costa Rica, send me a message because I'm thinking of going there in the end of the year. But I am like just so global right now. It's freaking my brain out. So I am obsessed with my podcast, as you guys are as well. And I was actually thinking this morning how it hasn't really got a genre. This is literal life. And every now and then I throw in some spontaneous crack that I just want to talk about. I don't know. It seems to flow in with my life. But I'm genuinely happy and excited to share every part of it. So yeah, it's been an interesting ride this year and this season 3 especially, just because I was on the fence. It was hard to discuss because obviously I wanted to get it off my chest. But can you hear the excitement in my voice now that all of this is like coming back around to being about me? I was only thinking the other day that like I've been throwing myself into so many different like weird projects, but nothing to really benefit myself, just to keep my mind distracted, or else I doom scroll on social media, which is just not a vibe. But I genuinely feel like the podcast is therapy for me, just as it is for a couple of you that are definitely enjoying the episodes recently. The No Contact, No Text, No Problem Babe podcast is etching towards 80,000 downloads, and that's insane. That shows me that you guys are having problems with like cutting off communication with exes and situations and relations. So I'm here for it. If you want me to talk about anything in particular, send me a message on Instagram at Dani. Or on the Spotify comment section. I do get notifications when they pop up, and I am absolutely here to, I don't know, throw me anything. I'll talk about anything. I don't care. I might have to deep dive on some things and it might not come natural, but I'm here for it. Anyway, I just kind of wanted to say, as I look back, I can see how every challenge, every unexpected turn, and every moment of doubt led to something greater. The universe has a funny way of working things out, often in ways I just didn't expect, but always that makes sense in the end. If you're in the middle of uncertainty right now, trust that something exciting is on its way in 2025. 2025 is already shaping up to be a year of possibility, and I cannot wait to see what's next. Until next time, guys, keep believing, keep moving forward, and remember, the universe always delivers. This is Dani. Over and out. Bye.